everyone. So we're going to watch episode 2, or I'm going to watch episode 2. I haven't quite figured out how to screen capture this from my computer from AmazonPrime.com because they have a embedded code that prevents you from doing that. So I'm trying to figure out a way to watch the show on the screen with you guys. But in the meantime, I'm just going to have it playing and we're going to skip around and have a great time diving into this episode 2 from season 2 called Strangers and Friends. Here we go. Okay, Rand has a dream. It looks like a dream. And in his dream, he's killed everyone with his heron-marked blade. And then Ishamael kind of laughs at him and then fades away. And so it feels like a recreation of either he's in the dream laughing at him like, haha, you killed everybody. Or Rand is dreaming and remembering when he released him and he was kind of like, and he was laughing as well. So now Rand is awake at night. And here's Selene. So exciting. And she's in bed. Obviously they have been, you know,
How should you get to work?
You still owe me women's board for this month.
she's gorgeous.
I'll have to charge you interest.
Ooh.
I won't pay. Your rates are too steep for that.
Okay, Rand has no shirt on, which is always great. And Selene is like, you still owe me room and board. And then she starts putting her hand on his chest and then going down. And I need not tell you what she was trying to do there. So, Selene is the innkeeper. It looks like Rand's staying in this inn with her. So he's in Cairhien. I like that outfit. That's really cool. Someone throws him a tortilla or bread or something. I'm going to be skipping around to just to kind of go through. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here for an hour with each other, and people have things to do. Cairhien looks great. There's these scaffolds on these giant buildings, which is really reminiscent of the books. They'd always talk about the scaffolds or the high towers of Cairhien, which seem to be being rebuilt at some point. And we're in a place called the Foregate, which is right outside the main gate of Cairhien. So it looks like Rand's going to work. Okay. It looks like he works in a place where people are kind of mentally unstable. Which that's really interesting because he knows he can channel, and so he knows that means that he is going to go mad at some point. So he's spending his time, of course we've jumped forward from episode 8, season 1, and he's spending his time taking care of people who looks like men, but there might be some women in there. I just don't see any right now. But he's taking care of people who have lost their sanity, and so that's kind of cool in the sense that he's caring for people in a condition that he feels like he's going to find himself in as well. Always hearing some voices. You are mine, Rand al'Thor. I know I've said that a few times. quick little intro. Looks like they've condensed the intro a little bit. All right, we've got Moiraine and Lan looking sad. Listen, Adelius is one of my favorite new characters. Like, she's thirsty to die. She has these wonderful clothes on. I think in the book she's Adelius's brown Aja, if I'm not mistaken. But she has she's thrown that out the window, and she's like, I'm gonna dress how I'm gonna dress, and that's it. And so she's after Lan too. She's real thirsty for Lan. So she's like, oh Lan, do you need some water? It's really hilarious.
You sure you don't need more healing?
And Moiraine is just like, oh, child.
You're in luck. My sister and I decided to accompany you.
So Varian and Adelius decide to go to the White Tower with Moiraine.
Head to the White Tower first.
I have been exiled from the tower.
I know.
Varian's like, mm-hmm. So let's go.
For sunset. I've lost too much time already.
Okay, so Moiraine and Lan have been, like, apart. Not apart physically, but there's definitely a wall between them. And it's like, I feel like Lan and Moiraine have been bonded for like 20 years. It's an enormous amount of time. And the bond allows them to feel each other's emotions and to kind of learn how to predict, how they're going to behave and what they need. And in some cases, like we saw Alana, she was like, I need a snack. And suddenly there's a snack from one of her warders because they recognize that emotion or that inkling, and as soon as they can feel it, they're like, oh, she needs an apple or something like that. And so now we've got Moiraine and Lan, who for the last 20 years, she's been like, I'm looking for the Dragon Reborn, I'm trying to find the Dragon Reborn, and I'm trying to fight the Shadow before the last battle comes. And Lan is like, I'm in. I'm, the lost king of Malkier. Malkier was taken over by the Shadow. He's fighting the Shadow, so he joined his war with her war, and they were bonded by the one power, and so they could just kind of go in and out. Like when they were fighting, he would go to like slash, and she's like, I already know what this is all about, and she'd be like, I'm gonna duck. So they had this really really tight-knit form of communication or sense of each other, and they've lost that completely. So for the last 20 years, they've just been so used to that, and suddenly they don't have it. It's kind of like that episode of Star Trek when Deanna Troi lost her empathic powers. And so even though she was kind of like, she was still a good counselor, like she relied a lot on her empathic powers to be a good counselor and feel out things. So when she didn't have those powers, she was just kind of like, I can't tell what anybody's feeling. Everybody's just a blank canvas to me. This is so frustrating. And so that's what Moiraine is feeling. She doesn't have access to the one power. She can feel the one power, but she can't touch it. It's so frustrating. She can't heat her water. She can't make things float around. She can't throw a fireball. Like, she can't do any of that. And she can't feel her warder, who's like the person that she's bonded to. She can't feel that at all, and so she's frustrated. She's trying to push him away. She's just like, I'm afraid I'm gonna die because I don't have the one power to help me. I'm gonna die, and I don't want Lan to have to die with me or for me or on behalf of me. And it's just a real, forgive me, but it's a real clusterfuck of non-emotions that they can't feel. And Lan is like, just open up, tell me, open up the way that normal humans open up, just tell me what's going on. And she's just like, I'm not gonna do that at all. So there's a real potent frustration between the two of them. She's trying to get him to go away, and he's not gonna go away, and so it's really frustrating. So here we have Elias tracking Padan Fain and the Horn of Valir, and they've come to a river.
Something doesn't feel right.
Ingtar is like, something does not feel right here.
Let's go over. Wherever we can find a crossing. Builder, you stay with the horses. As you wish. Oh.
He said, everybody get off their horses. Loyal, just take care of all the horses, okay? So they cross this river and they go to this house and they're not sure what's going on there. This is where the trail from, remember that Elias he's a sniffer, or that's what we think. And so he can kind of sniff his way through trails and stuff. He can track really well with that. And we know that Elias and Perrin have some kind of connection with their golden eyes and wolfy stuff and whatever. But, yeah. So they've gone to this building. This is where their path has led them. And they don't know what's going on. It's creepy. I'll tell you who isn't creepy. Masema. Yes. Those arms are ridiculous. Okay, so Perrin is having another one of his little visions, and when he walks in, he's kind of like, he sees kids playing and stuff, and he can't really differentiate the visions from reality quite yet. So he sees kids playing, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to disturb. And then he realizes suddenly that he's seeing a vision because somebody's attacking, and he sees the death scene that basically no one else can see. And then all of a sudden the reality kind of shifts back in, and there's just death everywhere. There's, flies have come in and populated, and it's just really bad. But at first, Perrin was just seeing like an actual scene of people just, kids playing, mums making dinner or lunch or whatever, and then suddenly they get attacked in his vision. And Elias is like, oh, and Perrin's eyes are golden while he's seeing this vision. And he sees a Murdral. Ooh. And then he sees Elias. And so basically Ingtar's like, are you okay? Is everything alright? Because the only thing that Ingtar can see is the flies in the death. And then he can't see the same thing that Perrin can see, but Elias can. So he's just kind of like, you have to remember that you need to distinguish between what is real and what is vision on that.
Friends left in a hurry. Probably felt us really compelled.
So Masema comes back and he's like, I think you need to see this, and they find a Murdral nailed to the door. It looks really horrific. Masema could just be like, Asa, I need you to come look at this, and I don't care what it is, I'd go look at it. So they find this Murdral nailed to the door. They think maybe Pattern Fane did it. They don't know what could do this to a Murdral, a Fade, because they're like the top creepy members of the Shadows armies. So what could possibly do this to a Fade? They don't know. And so Ingtar's like, we need to get out of here. So that's what they do. Rand is taking care of this guy, Errol. And Errol is not quite there mentally. He used to be in the army. He fought in the Aiel War. And he thinks Rand is an Aiel. He's not, he's seeing, and he's like, oh, I'm being attacked. And Rand is like, it's okay, it's just me. What we see here is that Errol was a blade master, or is a blade master. But he doesn't have his sword anymore. And Rand apparently has brought his Heron Mark blade for Errol to, to see and to hold and to play with. And Errol has been talking to him about sword forms and things like that. So Rand, I think, is trying to learn the sword, but also not draw attention. So he can't really be like, I'd like to learn the sword. This is my sword, and it's got a Heron Mark blade, which is the signal of a blade master. So people would be like, where did you get this? And I don't think he wants that kind of attention. So he's talking to Errol. And so Errol's like, here's some blade forms,
I'll try to stay my sword in the case of time. You can teach me if you want more.
Oh?
Can't kill me.
Cut in the clouds.
Kissing the
Ah.
It's like glory days, right on that? Get out of here.
I'd never understand why there's always got to be a character in an asylum who's just a friggin' jerk. Now we've got this jerk, and he messes with the people. He's on some kind of power trip or whatever. It's just, ugh, it's so gross. I just hate it. I really do not like that character.
Oh, come on. He's easy to win.
But Rand is like, you know what? Screw him. You know, he'll get his. Maybe when we're using our sword forms, like, you know, reaping the barley or poking the nose or whatever sword form they're using. All right, so we jump over to Egwene.
Where's Nynaeve? James the dive herself came in and took her. Took her where?
And she's talking to the novice. She's like, where's Nynaeve? They're like, we don't know. Leandrin took her away. And Leandrin has taken her to see the Yellow Aja. And there's a girl with breakbone fever. Remember that Egwene had breakbone fever, and Nynaeve was able to help her, you know, to some extent with her herbs and stuff, and her medicines. And basically, Leandrin is showing her that one of the accepted
We don't need the crimson throne.
uses the one power to heal the girl. And Nynaeve is like, whoa, that's really, really impressive. I really like the way they're doing the weaves here. Like, it's just so cool. And also, we know from the books that healing is water, spirit, and air. And so when she's weaving them together, you can see the colors from the new CGI. And it's got the air, the water, and the spirit, and she's weaving that together. So that's really cool that they're using the actual combination of the correct flows, threads of the one power to heal the girl. And she gets healed, so that's really cool. And so Leandrin is explaining to her that each of the Ajas has different different focuses. The brown Aja focuses on knowledge, the yellow Aja focuses on healing, the gray Aja focuses on diplomacy and stuff, and she's trying to get her to understand what the red Aja does. I love to hate and love Leandrin. Like, Kate Fleetwood has brought a depth. I know people keep saying that, but it's true. She's brought this depth to Leandrin that was not really present in the books. It was sort of hinted at, maybe a tiny bit, and she's just brought this to the screen. So you're never quite sure if she's rotten or if she's really good and just, you know, just ambitious and forceful on the things that she really believes in. And she's trying to get Nynaeve to, you know, get in with the Red Aja, or at least, you know, to let Leandrin train her. Because Nynaeve is, you know, as we know in every other scene, she's the most powerful channeler in 1,000 years, and so and so Leandrin's kind of like, you need to be in the Red Aja, of course.
I need to wrap my head around the idea that us mistress of novices.
So Leandrin picks up some sweet buns, some honey cakes, and she takes them to Mat, who she has captive in the White Tower.
Last night.
Basically, also Leandrin is like, listen, when they ask you, I've been pushing to get you to be tested for the accepted, and I know it's early, but we're going to do it. And so when my sisters ask you, you need to say yes. And so, because Leandrin is not allowed to teach novices because one of the novices died in her care or something like that. And so basically Nynaeve is like, I thought you're not allowed to teach novices. And she's like, I'm not, but I am allowed to teach accepted. So you need to become accepted so that I can teach you.
Sweet cakes. I'm very generous.
Are they poison?
If I
I love Mat. I love Mat. He's so suspicious, and I think Donald's doing a really good job on capturing all the nuances of Mat. I find his performance to be very Mat from Colton. Basically, he's like, are they poisoned? And Leandrin's like, I could kill you if I wanted to. They're
to
not
make
poisoned.
sure the effects of the dagger from Shadar.
She's keeping Mat, pardon me, to make sure that, pardon me, wet my throat a little bit. Vitamin. She's making sure Mat doesn't have any residual effects from the Shadow Logoth dagger. We see Mat kind of trying to dig out one of the bricks and escape. That's perfectly Mat behavior. Egwene has come back to her quarters, and she's found like this really big to-do red themed pillows and cabinets, and somebody has moved in next door to Egwene, and it turns out to be Elaine Tricond, the daughter heir of Andor. So exciting.
Oh, you can leave those right there. Thank you so much. Do you know I'm not blocking the door? Are you a novice too?
Oh, you're a
They
novice.
put me in a different section of the tower. I haven't seen another soul here since I arrived.
The day starts early around here. And
I absolutely love this. Elaine is just basically like, I'm the daughter heir. I'm very important. And so she's like, of course they would put me in a different, place in the tower, besides with the novices. So, because I'm so important, because I'm the daughter heir. And she has her maids in the room and stuff like that, which is hilarious. And so
yes, I am. But
Egwene's like,
you should tell me-
whatevs.
You should know what you've done with your room.
It's just with this tiny space. It's just impossible. I've seen closets this bigger.
she's so shady without
So you
trying
just
to
moved
be.
in too? Oh, I'm so grateful I'm not the only one starting today. You really think they'd do a better job at cleaning up before we arrived, don't you think? Mine was full of rubbish too. Oh. I see you've been testing things.
She's like, look at all this trash. And Egwene's like, it's just my stuff.
This is lovely stitching. It's Western Andoran, isn't it? The Two Rivers.
I already love Elaine. She's great. So, Alana and her warders are talking to Shiriam, and they think pushing Nynaeve to go through the accepted test is a bad idea. And Shiriam is the mistress of novices, so it's up to her to decide whether that should happen or not.
What Leandrin's proposing is just to
We saw again a little hint. Alana leans back and she just reaches her hand out, and one of her warders has a drink ready for her. So that's how the bond, is a way for them to learn to communicate with each other without just saying, "Hey, I need a drink." Like they already knew.
danger.
Last week she wasn't even allowed near novice, and now she wants Nynaeve to go through the arches.
No, Leandrin's little cabal have contra-vote, Alana. And, unfortunately, in the hall, you speak as one, not three.
She said, "Shady bitch."
That is, if you intend to be here to speak at all.
There's obviously Alana has packed some bags for something, and so Shiriam's like, if you're gonna talk to the hall, you should be
They
here.
want to stay.
No. Maureen. She needs us.
Okay. Nynaeve follows Leandrin to this little, kind of corridor space, and Leandrin suddenly isn't there. Suddenly, Nynaeve is kind of like, where'd she go? And she realizes one of the windows is not a window at all, it's a secret door. So she opens it, and she goes down, finds a secret passage out of the White Tower, and she's following Leandrin through the city. We jump over to the Shinerans and Perrin and Loyal coming into this little village. There's a giant fish being mongered. It looks amazing. Ah.
The Shinerans.
So Elias is like, the Shinerans are not your pack, so he's using kind of wolf speak. And Perrin is still like, So Elias's eyes are golden all the time. And Perrin has started, when he's either emotional or when he's seeing these visions, his eyes will change to that golden color. So I think as time goes on and he learns to use his wolf powers, just like in the books, we're going to see Perrin's eyes change colors to a golden color as well. So he's like, they're not your pack. And Perrin's like, I don't know what to do with that information, so he just goes in. We're jumping scenes to Moraine and Varen having a discussion. She's like, it's so cool, you can see the White Tower, it's enormous. Varen is talking to Moraine. She's basically like,
History of the world.
she's basically kind of like, look, we've been wondering, and we've kind of worked out that one of the boys that you brought with you is the Dragon Reborn, right? Is that right?
Eye of the Dark One is a police sister. Did you not think we would ask why? I assume it's one of the boys you brought back to Tarvalon.
Mm-hmm. Can't get anything past Varian. Moraine is not happy that she said that, and she reaches kind of for her dagger. So in the books, there was a scene where the Amyrlin Seat, Moraine, and Varian were talking, and then Varian just kind of drops this on them because they know that they're searching for the dragon, and so Varian's kind of like, of course, the dragon has to be one of the boys that you brought with you from the Two Rivers. And they freak out and they're just kind of like, what? But Varian is Brown Asha. She's very smart. She's, she's read the history. She's read the prophecies. She's paid attention to Moraine and Swan and kind of, little bits of things here and there. And so she's worked out on her own that one of the boys must be the dragon. Excuse me. I'm just, So Moraine is kind of inching her way towards Varian so she can stab her. And Varian's like, that's close enough.
That's close enough. Good. I wanted to know how far you go for the dragon if you're to lead him to victory.
So she's joining the fight, it seems.
Him? Neither of us.
Moraine's like, I don't know what to do with this information. Why is everybody trying to get in on my dragon? They're having a big party in Kyrian. Basically, Rand spots that jerk from the asylum, and it looks like he follows him. He beats the shit out of him. Oh! Oh! Okay, the one power suddenly appears, and Rand does this kind of concussive force on the guy and knocks him out, beats him up pretty bad. But it's not something Rand intended to do. He's just kind of like, oh crap, I've got the one power.
The truth is, it's when we need each other the most.
He goes back, and Celine's like, I don't think you want to be alone unless you want to be alone with me. You know what I mean? Honey. Although I do like Celine's braces on her forearms. They look really good. Oh, he chokes her out. But I think she likes it.
Give me the woman's name.
Okay, so Shiriam Sedai talks to Elaine, and she's like, I don't know what you thought, but you may be the daughter heir basically outside of these walls, but here you're just a novice. So I don't know what you thought with these maids. So who said the maids could come in? And
No.
Elaine's like, I'm not giving up the name.
Her name?
Mm-hmm.
If what she did demands punishment, then I will take it.
Then you will be in my office every morning for the next 3 months. Feeling the switch on your shoulders.
Tell
Or
me.
Shiriam said I. Before breakfast or after,
Ooh. Egwene is like, oh, I like that. That's good.
as you wish.
And you? Where's Nynaeve Almira gone off to?
So the thing about that's funny is that everybody in the White Tower, when they are addressing Egwene, they basically are addressing her to figure out where Nynaeve is or what Nynaeve is doing. And so Egwene has this kind of attitude, because basically everyone is just kind of like, Elaine, the daughter heir, and then she's like, oh, Egwene, so where's Nynaeve? And she's starting to get irritated.
Have her come to my study straight away when she's back.
Of course.
She's like, yeah.
Sorry I had to see that.
At least they pay attention to you. Anytime an Ice Sedai ever talks to me, is to ask where my friend is.
Oh, she doesn't like that. And they've cleared out Elaine's room.
Well, you wanted them to clean it out.
And Elaine is good-natured about it, so I like her a lot. I love the way that Kira is portraying this. Alright, we get an overview of Tar Valon. we find that Leandrin has snuck away, and Nynaeve went through the little secret passage and followed her. She's using Crimson Thorn root, which Nynaeve was telling them is poisonous, but they were like, we dilute it so that it just kind of kills the pain. We're not using it to harm anyone. Nynaeve is a little suspicious. She doesn't know what Leandrin is doing, and she finds her in this room with this old man. She follows her in. Leandrin's like, what are you doing here? And they talk a little bit. She's like, listen, I'm a healer. I understand, this Crimson Thorn root is not really helping him because there's other things going on. And Leandrin is just freaking out because her secret has been revealed that she's taking care of this old man. And nobody knows about this, but now Nynaeve knows about it. So Leandrin's like, shut the fuck up.
To help smooth the inflammation.
Oh, she slaps her. Girl, I need a drink. Oh, she sends Nynaeve away. And we find out that that's her son. And earlier she was talking to Nynaeve about how, because they used the one power, Aes Sedai lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we kind of get a glimpse on that. Leandrin is a young-looking woman, and her son is clearly in his late 70s, early 80s, something like that. He's also very sick. And when you look at them together, you would think that he was like her grandfather or something, but the realization is that this is Leandrin's son, and she's going to outlive him by quite a lot. Mat is digging his little hole, and he pushes out the brick, and on the other side is another cell that holds our lovely Min. And so Min's kind of like, oh, so you're the one who's been digging around. So they're kind of digging together to try to open up a passageway between the cells. Varian and Adelius talk to Lan and Moraine, and there's this little moment where Lan and Moraine kind of discuss how they met. It's a little nod to the prequel New Spring, and how Lan and Moraine weren't really sure about each other at first before they became Aes Sedai and Water. She was already Aes Sedai, of course, but before she bonded him as a Water, they weren't sure, and so there was a moment where she was following them, and he didn't believe she was Aes Sedai. She thought he might be a dark friend. He puts his sword down. She reaches for the sword. He's there in like 0.0001 seconds. 1 minute he's sleeping, the next minute he's over, picking her up and throwing her into a pond. And so there's a really nice moment where it's almost like the tension between them is starting to fade, and then Moraine, brings it back up again. Because remember, again, she can't, she can't let herself be vulnerable. She needs to push Lan away in her mind. And so, but this moment of sort of vulnerability has done the opposite of that. So.
An opportunity to share the ways of love.
And we learn about the Carnera, which is Malkiri custom. Basically, an older Malkiri woman takes on a virgin Malkiri boy and shows him the ways of love. It's very disturbing. Even in the books, and some of the other videos that I've made, I've been like, this is really not acute. Because in the books, I think the Lan's Carnera was like easily in her 30s, and Lan was probably like 15 or 16, and so it's just a very upsetting dynamic, but they do talk about that a little bit. So Min and Mat are bantering. It's really funny. Their characters are just really kind of spot on. Min has some wine. She brings it over to Mat. They have a little discussion. They get to know each other a little bit.
Feels like glimpses of the pattern.
She discusses that she can see glimpses of the pattern, she can see visions, that's why she's probably being held in the cell. Mat is like, I'm not really interested in your visions, and it's not something that Min is accustomed to people feeling. Basically, she's like, are you sure you're not even the remote, wondering what your future holds? And Mat's like, nah, I'm not really worried about it. He's like, unless your vision tells me how to get out of here, I really don't care. Min does see a vision, and it's about Mat stabbing Rand with the dagger. Now, Min knows who Rand is, of course, because she met him in season 1. So, I don't think she knows that Matt and Rand are connected, that they're like childhood friends, because Matt wasn't in the city with the others. He had disappeared in season 1 by that point. So basically for Min, her vision is this random guy, Matt, is going to stab Rand al'Thor, who she knows from her visions and who she met. And so I don't think she's made the connection that they know each other as well. Selene and Rand are hanging out, naked. Basically, he's like, I'm trying to forget this person. And she's like, because she's like, who do you think of when you're with me? And he's like, just someone I'm trying to forget. And then she's trying to remember somebody, basically. And so she's like, I'll help you forget if you help me remember. And it's a little motivation on what Selene is doing with Rand.
Well, suppression, speed up the fermentation.
Rand looks good.
Much more manageable.
Elaine uses the one power to kind of ferment some grapes and liquor. She makes some wine. She gives them to Egwene. They're becoming friends-ish.
I must fill the hours somehow.
Elaine is like, I've got to figure out, I don't have many friends, so I learned how to make alcohol. And then,
Do you know her? I take it you do.
here we are again. Elaine's like, wait, your friend, is that Nynaeve Almira? Oh my god, how exciting. But then she reads Egwene real quickly, and she's like, because at first she's like, that must be so exciting. The most powerful channeler in 1,000 years is your friend? That kind of vibe. And she immediately realizes that Egwene is not as excited as maybe she thought she should be. So she's like, how wonderful, or maybe how exhausting.
It's just...
And so Egwene opens up and she's like, everybody just talks about Nynaeve, about how wonderful she is, and nobody's talking about how awesome I am as well.
We came here together.
And then Egwene, Elaine kind of reads her. She's like, it doesn't look good when you're jealous. And Egwene's like, I'm not jealous. And she's like, girl. And it turns out she probably is. Nynaeve is outside the door. She's walking towards, she's just had this experience with Liandrin. She wants to talk to Egwene about it, but she kind of walks to the door and begins to hear this conversation. And Egwene is just sort of complaining, if Nynaeve is here, she should be doing stuff. And she takes every opportunity to be a rebel, and they celebrate it. I don't get it. So Nynaeve is like, whatever, I'm out. Liandrin shows up, immediately takes her to the accepted test. They go through the ceremonial, like, why are you here? Liane, Shiriam, and Liandrin are administering the test, so Nynaeve has to walk through the arches. There's 3 arches. They use the one power to activate the arches, and then she has to face her fears from her past, her present, and her future. I learned that from the background videos that I saw. Alright, Moraine and Lan. Basically, Moraine is telling him about the Forsaken. She's like, the Forsaken are free. We thought it was the Dark One, but it's not. It was Ishamael, and now we think Ishamael is releasing the rest of the Forsaken. And basically, you need to go. I need to go. Lan's like, I'm not going. That's why she's called Alana. She's like, I'm handing you over to Alana, and I'm out of here. So she leaves. Perrin is sleeping. The Seanchan show up and start a fight. Sorry. The Shinerans are amazing warriors. So this fight is not just the Seanchan showing up and winning automatically. Like, they're putting up a great fight. Especially Massima. Oh my god. Massima is fighting without his shirt on, which he should always do. Yes. Hit them with your chest muscles. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, Perrin. They pull Perrin down these stairs. He's like, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. No. Alright, the Shinerans are fighting. Uno's fighting. Ingtar's fighting. Perrin's kind of wandering a bit, and then Ingtar's like, what is wrong with you? Go help Loyal. Loyal's like, rah. He's definitely like fighting as well. So Perrin gets some courage, he goes and attacks. Loyal is throwing people left and right. He has like super strength. He's just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, He is. You don't want to mess with an oh yeah. Alright, so in the middle of this fight, 2 Damane show up, and they're kind of like, what's going on here? The Damane, the Suldam are like, hey, something in the old tongue, I think it means, let me hear that again. I wonder if I can interpret this. Alright, here come the Damane. They look like they're in pajamas. Off. Could be wind. Off wind. Baijan is attack, so wind attack. Wind attack. Which seems to be what they do. There's a lot. They look like a hurricane. He's just blowing everybody backwards. Except Loyal, he's like. But eventually everybody gets blown away. Alright, so it's daytime. They've been captured. The Shinarans. Everybody's been captured. The village has been captured. We see this palanquin being drawn forward. It's very big. We have Damane in front of it. It looks like some Shan-Chan leaders. Big old Wolverine claws. We're back to Rand.
Last night, so we needed to feel the position.
Okay, basically Rand beat the guy up, and the guy is out of commission, so they're like, you can take his place.
The usual, they had a terrible accident last night. So I'll be taking care of you for the next few months.
And who should he take care of except Logain, who happens to be here as well. Yes, and that is episode 2. So, that is really exciting. There's a lot of stuff coming into this episode that's moving the story along. It's really wild. I'm very anxious to see what happens in episode 3 as well. And then we have episode 4 coming out Friday or Thursday night, maybe. So everything is going to be very exciting in the next couple of days. But yeah, that was episode 2. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. And we'll get ready for the rest of this season. So exciting. Bye, guys.